Sounds Like This podcast. I'm your host, Julie Murray, and today I am joined by Robyn Monty from Robyn's Room. Robyn is an art enthusiast, childhood art advocate, not a grower of things, but Tai Chi and Kung Fu, Wushu, champion with gold, silver and bronze a lifetime ago.
Yes, a lifetime ago.
Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah? Oh, I love it.
I know, because you're going to ask me all about children's art and I'm just going to get all passionate and you're going to have to say, stop talking now, stop talking.
I don't know if I will, Robyn, because I love it. So I have Robyn joining me today because every conversation I've had with Robyn, I wanted somebody else to hear it, somebody else to benefit from it, and for it never to end. The way Robyn talks about creative processes and children and their whole kind of sense of self is such a beautiful thing that I just wanted more people to share in it and to hear about what it is that you do and how you do it and why you do it and what you're going to be doing more of. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I suppose I have to start off why.
Yes.
Why did I suddenly jump from a very busy job, high-pressured, high expectation? I've been around with children a long, long time, but I got to the point where children were so despondent with their art. And I couldn't get why they were saying that they hated art. I couldn't believe it. That would break my heart when I heard children say, I don't like art.
Yeah.
And I think it's because through the systems there's so much curriculum that has to be taught, and I think children don't need that. Yeah. They've not given an opportunity just to do it for the sake of it. Pardon me. So I got to the point where I just had to say, I've got to leave this. I've got to do something that I really love, and that's art and craft. And seeing children do art and craft, put those two together, and I just went, I have to jump from this stereotypical madhouse with all these expectations and open any environment where children could do art for themselves, not because what the teacher wanted them to produce or what the mother wanted them to produce or what their carer wanted them to produce, but what the child wants to produce.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. That's the best feeling in the world.
Yes. And, I've had people over the years ask me why I got into music teaching, and it's a really simple answer for me. I fell in love with sparkly eyes. So there's something that happens when you teach someone to do something or you enable them to see that they're a capable person in and of themselves, and they sparkle, you can see that something lights up inside them, and they believe in themselves and they hold themselves differently. And I know that kids get the opportunity to do that through creative things with you, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And I think because I take away that contrived expectation, I think I try and advocate for them to do a sky how they would like to do a sky, not the blue sky with the yellow sun and the green grass grows all around, because that's what adults see as art. Yeah. So therefore they want their child to be good artists, let's say. Yes. But if they want to see the sun as purple with spots and they want to have the grass coming out of the sky.
Sure.
It's all about them just letting explore and take away those expectations, take away those judgments. Just let them art themselves.
Yeah.
And once they do, and once they are able to have that avenue to explore it, their whole little world opens up. And it's the same sort of thing. You see the sparkle inside them. To see a child actually say, have some art, and they've found that creative worth without any judgment or any criticism, and they go, I really like what I've done. Yeah. As opposed to, do you like what I've done?
Yes.
It's a completely different thing altogether.
Absolutely. And so, in terms of what the children are developing there, obviously there's all of the creative stuff as well, but from a really personal perspective for that child, they're learning that their thoughts matter, that their opinion matters, that the way they feel about the thing that they did matters, you know, that they don't need external validation for it to be important.
Absolutely.
You know, all of that stuff is actually really, really important because we live in such a fast-paced world and, you know, children are so, or humans are so influenced by other things coming at us all the time. You know, we're exposed to so many ads and so much media and so many things, and younger than ever before. I think it's really important that we can hold space and help them develop those skills of actually I listen to myself and I value my own opinion and I can hold my own thoughts.
Absolutely, because it's an expression. It's just another form of communication. And if they can relax in that communication and know that this is how they're feeling and this is how they're making or this is how they're creating and it's coming from inside, they've found that creative worth and then it's just like their self-confidence improves, their self-esteem improves, you know, the way they hold their body.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's just the best feeling it is. It's the best feeling in the world to see it happening in the children.
Yeah.
And when they come in and start the program, you know, they've either come from school or they've been rushed around somewhere and they come in and it's like, their little body's just... You could feel all of that tension and anxiety of everything that's around them. And then they just settle down into it and off they go and they might totter off and go to do a painting or they might go to do a drawing. And I think that choice is part of why children enjoy the program so much because they're not told this is how you do it and this is what you're going to do today.
Yeah.
Why aren't you here on time, you know? Like it's not about that. It's about...
Well, the kids aren't driving the cars and they're not responsible for the roadworks on the way or somebody else's basketball drop-off. Like.
Yes, and we've got busy lives. But for children to have a moment where they can just be themselves, feel really comfortable, know that they're not going to be criticised because the sun isn't yellow enough.
Or the right shape.
Or the right shape
position.
or it's in the right position. So it's
a really beautiful thing. So how do you support the children in that space? So you create an environment for them where they can come into your beautiful art space and you've got things laid out for them. But you also, I've seen you work, so it's kind of a leading question, but how do you support the children in helping them make those decisions? Like if you've got a child that's feeling quite anxious or they're a bit unsure about what this is even going to look like for them, how do you take them from I'm not sure how to even begin to a really bold, fearless, courageous artist leading their own way? How do you support them through?
Respect. Just right up respect from the beginning that they're their own person, that they're individual, their ideas are going to be different from mine, and let them know that this space it was my room before they stepped in. And I say to them, as soon as you've stepped in, it's become our room. So this is your space as well. So I have lots of activities for them to choose from so that they have autonomy over their art. I address that there's no pressure and there's no mistakes and there's no such thing as perfect, and everything around us in art and everything around us in our lives is a bit wonky-donkey in some way. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay to be a bit wonky-donkey with your art because no one's going to say it's good or bad. And I try and avoid those phrases altogether. So there's no such thing as, he's a better drawer than me. Well, no, it doesn't exist. We all do. He draws like he draws, and we all draw differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think allowing them to have the freedom to choose. I have lots of activities set out for them, but I actually don't say you're going to make this my way. I've got all of these resources on the table.
I wonder what
you're going to do with it.
Yeah,
and that's enabling them to, okay, well, I've never used this before. And you'll hear them say, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, well, let's just think about something. What did you have for dinner last night?
Yeah.
Change the tact. And I had nuggets or something. I had nuggets, I had nuggets. And then all of a sudden you've taken them into a moment where they're able to express their own ideas.
And they're reflecting on something. So they're not coming from nothing. You know, they live in the world. So use their real world experiences to start
them off. If they're if they feel that they just are really stuck, I just say, just have a wander around the room. Just, you might like to do a bit of drawing. You might like to pick up a paintbrush. You might like to do some making and let them problem solve, really. Let them discover where they're going to take their art for that program or for that day or for that session.
It's really beautiful. I love it. I love the freedom. And I love the normalizing that not knowing what the end is going to look like is totally fine, and not knowing exactly how to do it is fine. I know I work with a lot of people, and one of the things that I hear all the time when someone asks me what it is that I do, they say, the first thing they say back to me is, "Oh, you're a music teacher. Okay, I can't sing."
Oh,
and it's the stories we tell ourselves, isn't it? And I think to myself, well, I can't sing, but. But, where does that story come from? This person that I'm speaking to probably for decades has told themselves, I can't sing, I'm not a person that does X, Y, Z. I'm sure you would hear it all the time, I can't draw. Or,
absolutely.
Oh, well, we're an art family, so that's why we do it, rather than this is something for all people. So, I'll hear, oh, well, his grandfather's musical, so I want him to be musical too. And I think to myself, being human means that we are creative, and we build skill level in what we are curious about and what we have opportunities to explore and where we find joy. And how do we create environments where we're creating joy and not the demand and not even necessarily the praise, but just time and space for the kids to be.
And often that can be the problem, because we get so caught up in our busy lives that if your child is showing an interest and they want to do some art, you've gone, oh, I've just vacuumed, or I can't, I've got to get dinner ready.
Yeah.
And, oh, it's going to be far too messy. No, you can't have that. You can't have that, and you can't have your glitter. No, that's going to get mess everywhere. And they end up going, well, if you really have to do some art, here's a colouring in sheet. And I understand it. We're busy mums, and sometimes we just go, oh, I've just vacuumed and I don't want glitter all over.
Oh, well, I never have that problem. But
allow them to the freedom. I think that's the thing. Let them explore it. It's a little bit of glitter on your floor. You'll be able to vacuum it up, I suppose trying to have that to pull back a little bit as to what's more important, what's more important for the child, to just be able to not have those judgments and not feel it that they've got that pressure.
Yeah.
And I think we're so anxious for our children in lots of cases to be artists.
I think parents experience that with everything. I want my child to be a good athlete. I want my child to be a good musician. I want my child to be a good artist. I want my child to be academic. I want my child to be like all these different things, right? We think we're doing a good job if our child is performing. And as someone that works in quote unquote performing arts, it drives me batty, because the performing in performing arts is actually about the process of the doing of the art thing, not in that it's a performance for somebody else to judge that person. And we don't think about it like that in kind of broad education in Australia.
Yep.
We don't think about arts education as process. We think about it as the results. It's all about, at the end of the term, we've got an exhibition, or at the end of the year, we've got a concert, or at the end, it's all about putting it on display. And we're telling the children that if your art doesn't go on display, it's not valuable. Or if you are not the lead singer in the thing, then you're not good enough to be. Or it's like, and so even if we don't specifically tell them those things, everything we do is actually sending those messages.
It's sending those messages.
And I feel like it's really damaging.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, because the child is already starting off with some sort of expectation.
They want to do well.
Well, yeah, they want to do well.
They want to feel good.
But it's like, what are you going to paint for me today? What are we going to take home for Nana to put on the fridge? Oh, I hope you're going to use my favourite colour. And often when we're inciting children or inviting children to do art, we want the result. We want the outcome. But we forget that the child's thinking about their own ideas. They're thinking about what they would like to make. They're thinking about what they would like to draw. And then we impose our opinions on them. Oh, that's a lovely dog down in the corner.
I'm thinking it's not a dog, it's a hot dog.
No, it's a hot dog. Or it's
not a dog, it's
eating a hot dog.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and so then as soon as we've imposed that, I suppose, judgment or what we expect their art to be, to us it looks like a little squiggle.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, oh, well, if it's a dog, where's its tail?
Yeah.
And
so immediately it's wrong. Let's fix
wrong.
it.
Let's fix it. So let's, rather than impose a judgment of what you wanted on your child's drawing, ask different questions about what they're doing. Rather than say, oh, that's a very, interesting dog. I love the way you've used purple. What's happening in those purple squiggles? So it's empowering the child then to think about, well, Mum doesn't know what it is, but she's recognised that I've used purple.
Yeah.
So in that, it's just giving them the confidence to do and explore their own art and have it valued, regardless if it doesn't look like a dog. We're still valuing and acknowledging the process of how they got there in the first place.
Oh, I love that.
I try and avoid wherever possible this need to have a piece produced.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just enjoy getting the glue on you. Let's just ask questions about what size paintbrush you should be using. Let's explore it. Here's 50 paintbrushes. Choose the one that you would like, rather than you'll use this brush and this brush and this brush, and you'll use this colour and this colour and this colour.
Yeah.
So what we're doing then is actually, once again, imposing our values of what we think art should be on our children. And this forms that scarring that you were talking about, because all of a sudden they're told that every time they do that squiggle, it's a dog and they've got to have a waggy tail.
Yeah.
And when it's imposed on children like that, it's not intentional. We want our children to do well.
We're hurting our people on purpose.
But
I do think that we accidentally hand down our own values and the way that we were raised and things that we've heard other adults say to us that we've carried since our own childhood. You know, I think we absolutely think, okay, this is how we have a conversation about a creative thing.
Yes.
And let's change the conversation. Let's give the parents different talking points. You know, let's say instead of asking them, what did you draw for me, maybe just ask them a curious question about what they've actually created.
Yes.
Or how they felt while they made it.
Yes,
or
exactly. Or
what the
why
process
did they use
was.
that colour?
Yeah. Some choices that they made.
Yes.
You know, if you want to engage with the art, which I think is a really beautiful thing to do, what can we do to remove our control, our demands, our expectations, and actually just let it be a joyful thing for the kids and know that the joy in the process is enough.
Yes.
You know?
And that we don't need every single time something to go on the fridge. Because I try and say to children, when you make something new, because the parents will say, well, now where am I going to put it? You know, and you think, oh, it's even in that tone that we just go, oh, now I've got another
It's a burden.
Oh, my goodness. Embrace it. Maybe have it in your house or something. And I try and say to the children, every time you make something new, rather than keeping everything that you've kept, and Mum can't decide which is her absolute favourite, make a choice. Now, I've played with that and I made that and I valued that. Then you have your really special pieces that you keep forever. But in doing this is not saying that every time they come home they've got to have a piece for the fridge. So maybe Mum, might put it up on the fridge, or she might not, or she might talk to you about the drawing, so the children don't have that expectation of not just enjoying it, but of producing for all the wrong reasons.
I think that's so important.
And they get scarred from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when they say, all of a sudden your child who would go to the third drawer in the kitchen and bring out the crayons and start to draw, we've all had our little two bobs, Mum wants to put a few birds up in the sky, and, well, here's a house, where's the chimney? It's all different like that. So I think we need to allow them that space just to just do and explore. So don't put the pressure on them to produce something. Maybe, like you said, Julie, how did you get that idea? Wow, how did you make that colour? How did you make those wiggly lines?
Yeah.
So
I love that texture.
I
What is
love
that?
Yes.
And they can talk to you about the process.
Yes.
And I think what you're doing when you have those sorts of conversations is you value their brains. You know, they're the ones that came up with whatever that was, and you're telling them you've got great ideas.
Yeah.
Your brain is awesome. It's capable of tremendous things.
I think that comes back to the respect of them.
Yeah.
We've got to treat them like little people. They're little people. They've got their own minds. They've got their own opinions. Respect their individuality. They're not going to be drawers like their brother, or they're not going to be painters like their grandma.
Yeah.
They're all going to be different in how they approach their art.
And how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
So, Robyn, what age groups do you have programs for? So how young do you start with little ones?
In my kinder program, so actually I run programs as an external service in kindergartens, childcare centres.
Mm-hmm. So you go in and do kinder incursions for them? Yeah,
so
gorgeous.
I do programs inside kinders.
Fantastic.
So, and they can be from 3 to 5 years of age.
Lovely. And then the programs that you run at your space in Mornington?
And my space in Mornington, yes. So if it was like an adult child session, I call them together sessions, they're about 4 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
So mum could come down with their child and we could do an activity together, some activities together, just to give mum some ideas how they can do some activities with their children at home.
Yes, it's very much like what I do. It's about how can we support the adult to see that this is not something that happens only in one space, but, this creative process can happen.
And it's a flow on.
Yeah.
And they can do a little bit of art at home without having to get messy.
Yeah.
And they can explore and look at different things.
Gorgeous.
So that
and
would be for
through...
parents. Yes, so then my after-school programs, which are from 5 years of age and 5 to about 15.
Yes.
And they're broken up into the age groups.
Mm-hmm.
And parties, I do children's parties, a little bit different from everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because we sort of throw paint and get a little bit messy. So we have a little bit of fun. So children's parties start from 5 years of age. Because I think about 5, they've started to have a little base understanding of colour. Mm-hmm. Some use of tools. Mm-hmm. They've got a little bit more autonomy over about their ideas.
Yes.
So it hasn't been tampered with as far as you will produce this.
Yes.
So about 5 years of age. And then
so gorgeous.
Right through to adults classes. I do art classes for adults and art therapy for children or families that might feel that they just need an outlet to further express something that might be happening at home or something that's making them feel unhappy or sad or anxious.
Yeah. And art therapy is such a beautiful way to get those feelings out, and I guess a non-confronting way to do it as well. You might not be able to articulate it, but to get it out on something,
yes.
Physically get it out, you know, and be able to visually represent whatever that is.
Well, I do a lot of that in the programs anyway, because basically the way I run the programs is a freedom and a choice and allowing them to express themselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the underlying things about that is that they've got that freedom, and I think that's a good place to start. And that just filters in through the program. So it just filters a concept of you can relax, you can be yourself, enjoy your art, problem solve yourself, be independent. Because it's not much point me doing the art for them.
Yeah.
So I really try and encourage them. It's your art, it's your idea. Let's see what you do with it. Let's make something or create something.
I love it. Make something. Hooray.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Robyn.
Is it over already? See, I told you I was
having you on to talk about the creative process, and I really hope that families listening at home are going to have some insight into why it's really important to be thinking creatively like this and give children these opportunities. So thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It's lovely talking to you as always, Julie. I know I can talk forever about it. When you get passionate about it, you just can't help it.
Yeah, it's lovely. The kids are lucky to have you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Sounds Like This podcast. I've been your host, Julie Murray. If you're interested in art classes with Robyn's room, please feel free to check out her website. I'll pop a link in here. And if you're interested in learning more about music making and brain development with children, please visit my website, www.soundslikethis.com.au. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.